Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do part of my Halloween series and I'm going to do a where is case. This is the craziest case ever. I have been absolutely obsessed with it. It has to deal with government conspiracies. It has to deal with kidnapping, sex trafficking. It's just so creepy, and still to this day it's completely ongoing. So I definitely want to share this story with you guys. I think you guys will be just as interested in it if you haven't heard of it yet. So the case is about Johnny Gosch. This case is very publicized and there's just so much overwhelming information that still to this day they're trying to find information, and it's just so complicated and there's just so much to it. So I'm probably gonna miss some of the parts. If you guys want to know every last detail, there's a documentary on Netflix. His mom wrote books about it, but if I told you every last detail, I could be on this video for like 2 hours. It's that intense. Okay, so I'm gonna tell the story basically through Noreen, which is his mom's point of view, because she is the one who has fought like crazy to keep this story alive, to keep this case alive. If it wasn't for her, I don't think it would be so national as it is today. So Noreen recounts that it all started on September 5th, 1982. In Des Moines, Iowa. So the whole family went to a high school football game because the oldest Gosch boy was playing in the football game. Noreen was previously married before this to a man who ended up having cancer and passing away, and she had 2 kids with him, and then she had another son with her newest husband. So they were there watching the oldest play football, and Johnny Gosch was there, and he asked to go to the concession stand and get popcorn, which anywhere I think would be totally normal. I remember being at football games and doing the same thing, and you know, it just wasn't really unheard of, and I feel like it still isn't unheard of. So he went to the concession stand and he was sitting there talking to a policeman, and no one knows what they were talking about. And so the dad said, okay, come on Johnny, let's go. So they went back to the stands to watch the football game, and Johnny didn't want to sit with his dad, which is normal. It's nothing out of the ordinary. At that age, you kind of are starting to become independent and you kind of want to do your own thing. So then again, he kind of went missing for a second. So the dad went to find him, and again, he was underneath the football stands talking to a police officer. And Johnny Gosch told his dad how nice he was, and when the dad came back and told Noreen kind of thought something was up with that. It was a little bit strange. Why would a police officer be talking to her son, you know, in secret almost, and it just not be out in the open? So she was a little bit skeptical of that. So the next day, the whole family was there and they were all eating dinner, having a great time. It was that Saturday night. So when it was time for Johnny to go to bed, he asked his mom if he could do his paper route a little bit earlier the next day, which was in the morning. So he was a 12-year-old boy who was a paper boy, and he would normally go do his same paper route all the time. If you were a millennial and you guys didn't get the paper back then, people would just like stock up their wagons with paper, and they would go and get paid like in quarters or whatever. They wouldn't get paid much, but that's what kids do. And then they would take their money to like the candy store or like the little candy shop down the street. It was just not uncommon. It was something that tons and tons of kids used to do. So when he asked his mom if he could do his paper route on his own the next day, his mom of course said no, you have to do it with your dad, which was one of the stipulations of him doing the paper route. And so he went to bed, she tucked him in, and later on that night, not very long after, he came downstairs just very randomly and said, Mom, I love you. I will always love you. You are the best. And of course, his mom hugged him back, tucked him back in, and was a little bit like, what? That's strange. It almost seems like it's like something, the last thing you would say to someone. But I mean, that was kind of her gut instinct, was that if something was a little bit off, but you know, she can't predict the future. It's not like you know what's going to happen the next day. So something else that was really strange that happened that night, they got a random call at 1:30 in the morning, and the dad answered the phone and he said, yes, all right, yes, all right, yes, all right, okay, and then hung up. And Noreen said, who was that? Who's calling in the middle of the night? And he said, oh, it must have been a wrong phone number. Now, what is also a little bit strange about this is that she wasn't really taken off guard about the phone call, because for the past few weeks she had been getting calls on Sunday mornings from the same, number that was a wrong phone number, and so she just really didn't think much of it. And so she went back to bed, and the next morning she was woken up by tons of phone calls of people asking where their newspaper was. This is where the story starts to get interesting. So when she got that phone call, she immediately went to his bedroom and checked to see if he was there. He was not there, so she began panicking. The dad went out and finished the newspaper route, and she called the 911. She called the police, and this is what's very interesting as well, is that they were only 10 blocks away, so they should have arrived insanely quick, and it took them 45 minutes. That is unheard of, and I feel like when the police drops the ball to begin with in the most important few hours of a case, like, bad things are to come. You know what I mean? Bad news. Well, I'm not sure why the dad didn't go with him on the paper route, considering that the mom said that he had to go with him. So that's a little strange to me. And then, so when the dad went to finish the paper route, he came back freaking out, saying that, oh my God, he's missing, someone's taken him. He had found his wagon with like the dog leash still attached to it 2 blocks away. And this is again where things start to get a little weird. So while Noreen was waiting for the police to arrive, she started calling the other newspaper boys in the area, asking if anybody had seen him, and a few actually said that they have. According to a neighbor, they had heard Johnny's wagon being pulled at 5:45 a.m. down their street. Then another boy, Mike, was at a corner, and I'm going to insert some photos here for you guys to show you, but he saw a car pull up to Johnny where he was and then back up to the point where Johnny was walking, and then he saw them speak very quickly, and he claimed that it was a blue car, and a few of the other paper boys who had seen this car claimed that it was a blue car as well. Then they claim that after they spoke very briefly, the car drove that way, Johnny walked this way to a corner, and then the car came back to the corner where Johnny was, and Mike, the one paper boy, was there. Johnny was right there. Then an attorney who lived around the way came to grab some of the papers for his son, which was a paper boy, and he actually stopped and talked to the same man in that blue car. So when this attorney walked up, he was the only adult that was there, and Johnny Gosch said to the attorney, he said, "Can you help this guy?" And as soon as Johnny Gosch said that, the attorney says that the blue car basically did a U-turn and sped out of there as quick as he can. He said at this point, Johnny still had his wagon with his dog attached to it and the papers in the wagon. So this is where Johnny Gosch actually told the other paper boys, "I'm scared, I feel uncomfortable, I want to go home," or something to that realm. So this is where another neighbor recounts hearing a car door slam. He describes it as the same car from before, except for black or silver, which I can understand. A lot of people who recount seeing things like that end up mistaking color or small little details, and it was kind of the early morning where it's a little bit dark, so a blue car could be mistaken as a black or silver car. And he recalls hearing that door slam and making a left out of that, not their driveway, but the street. And that is the last place Johnny Gosch was seen around with the other paper boys. The neighbor recounts seeing the car run the stoplight and book it out, and he was never seen again, which is just so sad. A 12-year-old boy doing something so innocent and something that we have all done. We have all been 12-year-olds, either riding our bike without our parents, walking down the street to get an ice cream from like the ice cream truck. We have all done it, and 12-year-old is, it seems so much older, like, oh, they're 12, yeah, they'll be fine walking down the street. But at the end of the day, they're still so young and they're so innocent, and they're not babies, but they're just, I guess this world is so cruel and they're not ready to be walking a few blocks down the street, which is so sad to say. So sad. So then the police officer started questioning the parents, asking, well, did he run away? He probably just ran away. He'll be back. And started badgering him about running away. And the mother told him he did not run away. He's never tried to run away before. And thinking about it logically, how would he run away if he had a paper route to do and the dog was still tied up to the wagon? It just makes no sense at all. If you're gonna run away logically, I feel like 12-year-olds are a little bit smarter. I don't think they would just say like, I'm gonna run away at 5:45 in the morning and I'm gonna bring absolutely nothing with me and I'm just gonna leave my dog tied to the wagon. Why would he bring his dog? If he was gonna run away, he wouldn't bring his dog and leave his dog tied to the wagon. That makes absolutely no sense. No one's buying it. Everyone in the neighborhood said, my kids play with him. He would never run away. My family has been out to dinner with his family. We're all close in this neighborhood. You got to remember, Iowa, especially back then, was even smaller than it is now. Everyone knew everyone, and everyone knew that he would not run away. And the police were just so determined to say, oh, it's a runaway, it's a runaway, it's a runaway. This part of the story really, really bothers me. So they were having a search in the area and everybody came to help and spend their time searching in the woods for him. And the same police officer that was badgering her, saying that, oh, it's a runaway, ended up coming to the search, standing on a picnic table, drunk mind you, and started yelling, go home, you're wasting your time, this is a runaway case, no need to be here, go home, all belligerent, all obnoxious, which is just so hurtful. These people are searching for their son and that's how you treat them. That is just so absurd to me, and it's crazy that this police officer didn't get reprimanded. Nothing happened to him. It was just like accepted. It just blows my mind. So there's a lot of things going on with the police station at that time. You could look more into it. Like I said, if I give you every little detail, it would just be the longest video ever. But there's a lot of corruption going on with the police at that time. And basically from what Noreen recounts is that they said to her, unless you can prove that he's in danger, we're considering him a runaway. So they were no help to her at all whatsoever. Noreen was completely alone and she was her own advocate for her son, which is so sad, and I'm sure such a lonely, devastating feeling, especially as a mother, where it's just, you can only do so much, and it's not like she prepared for this. She didn't, back then, it's not like she could get on Google and get on social media and really bring awareness. Like, she was so alone, and what is yet to come is just so intense and so crazy, so buckle up. The thing that this case, I think, bring light to is that how the pedophile rings are just so everywhere in this country. It doesn't matter if you're in a big city, if you are in a small town, it's just they exist everywhere. It's absolutely disgusting. But then again, things get hidden every single day where you don't think it's possible, and it absolutely is. And I think this case definitely defined that moment in time where people started realizing how prominent sex trafficking really is. So if you're not really too sure what I'm talking about, I would definitely recommend also looking up the Franklin cover-up. If you guys want me to do a little talk time about that, that is such another intense case. It's so crazy. I just, nowhere. It's insane. So then on August 12th, 1984, another boy who was a paper boy in Des Moines, Iowa, went missing, and he was the same age as Johnny Gosch. He disappeared also while delivering paper. So Noreen had ordered a private investigator, and he claims that these two cases were absolutely connected, while of course the police wanted nothing to do with it, didn't want to hear about it. They thought, no way, impossible. So Noreen decided that she wanted to make some good come out of this, and she started really trying to help other families of kidnapped kids, and she started doing a lot of like charity work, things like that. And she actually is the one who got the face put on the milk carton, if you ever heard of that, so that people could see, because everybody drinks milk and everyone has cartons of milk, So then in 1985, a dollar bill surfaced with writing on it that says, "I'm alive, Johnny Gosch." It is possible that it could be him, but it was never confirmed. A lady at a grocery store was checking out someone, and when she received $1, she noticed that something was written on it, and that's when she called the police to give them the evidence. Now, it's possible it could be somebody just playing a joke because, you know, it was starting to get publicized. It was on the milk cartons, but then it could also be him. So, of course, the FBI took it into evidence. Then, scary enough, in 1986, another boy named Mark Allen went missing in the Des Moines, Iowa area as he was doing his paper route. So then in 1998, the family of the Gosches, they received a letter that was apparently from Johnny Gosch saying that he is alive. He was forced to do really terrible things. It also says in the letter that the kidnappers dyed his hair, again, made him do really terrible things. They gave him a new identity, and at the end of the letter it said, "Your son, Johnny Gosch," which is just, as a mother, I can't even imagine the pain she felt. I'm sure she felt like she stopped breathing for a lifetime. That is just so sad, so scary, but then also gives you just this little glimmer of hope that you hope someone's not messing with you. And this is where this story just gets really crazy. In 1991, a man comes forward named Paul Bonacci. He confesses to have been in the car that took Johnny. Now, the problem with Paul Bonacci is that he has multiple personality disorder. Now, multiple personality disorder is, people probably are a little bit unsure, a little bit skeptical about it, but a lot of the times people can take on 20 different personalities. They could take on one. Some people's are way more progressed than others. Some are on such a different spectrum. Some are very more intense, where, like I said, they can have 20 personalities. Some can have like 2, and these people that suffer with this, they truly believe this is who they are in the moment that they are that personality. Paul claims that he has been in the child sexual prostitution ring since he was 6 years old, which is so incredibly sad. Now, the only way he can remember these events is through his different personalities, and I know that sounds strange, but when you suffer from trauma at such a young age, especially having this multiple personalities, he probably goes in and morphs into these personalities almost to try to, you know, help make him feel better, to try to help those wounds. Almost your brain, a lot of times when you suffer trauma, will do whatever it can to almost permanently forget the trauma. So a lot of this doesn't sound so off the radar and so crazy to me. So Paul Bonacci was already in jail with the Franklin cover-up, which I mentioned earlier. You guys should definitely check it out. So then the creator of America's Most Wanted decided to come and help Noreen and help work on the case, since they weren't getting any help from the police at all whatsoever. So Paul Bonacci claimed to the America's Most Wanted guy that basically what he was in was a big sex prostitution trafficking type of ring, and what they do is they go and they kidnap these little boys from a early age, like 5, 6 years old. It makes me want to throw up just like talking about it. It's disgusting. So this all went down on TV. You can look it up. Paul took the America's Most Wanted crew to a place in Colorado where he claims everything went down. So they walk up to the doors, and this is where he claims they were all kept. He starts breaking down, crying. He can barely get through the door. It's just so, it feels so real. It doesn't feel like he's making it up, and it's just like truly terrifying. Then because the FBI, the police, nobody was really helping, America's Most Wanted finally got an interview with the FBI. And you can look this interview up online. It's just so insane. But basically they're saying, do you know anything about the Johnny Gosch case? And this is what the FBI director says. No. All of a sudden he has to start clearing his throat. He's looking all over the place. No, I'm not aware of it. And then you hear in the background, we we discussed we will not talk about the Johnny Gosch case. We will not talk about it. And that's the end of the interview. They wanted nothing to do with it. And that leads me to believe they knew more and something is being covered up. And that's just not okay. Noreen claims that Johnny Gosch came to her house, knocked on the door, said, "I don't have a lot of time. I want to let you know I'm okay." And she's crying, begging him to stay. And he said, "No, they're watching, they're watching." And then in 2006, Noreen discovered, they left it on her doorstep, I believe. I think that's what happened. Tons and tons of photos that are believed to be Johnny Gosch. Ugh, I don't even want to say this. Like naked, bound, and gagged in sexual positions. It's so disgusting. It's so gross. But the pictures are on the internet. I'm not putting it on my channel because it's just absolutely like, but it's just, ugh, it gives me the chills. It gives my stomach such an uneasy feeling. I can't do it. But if you want to go check these photos out, you could Google it, Johnny Gosch photos. It'll come right up. And it's just so, so sad. Of course, she turned them into the FBI. Nothing came out of it. So devastating. And if you look at the photos that are supposedly Johnny Gosch and you look at photos of Johnny Gosch before, it looks like him. And that's scary. That's so, so scary that it's known something happened to this boy and all these paper boys. And it's so covered up, and it's just so obvious that it's covered up. And so many people have made videos about it. They get deleted. There's just so much controversy about it, and I just think it's so sickening. So sickening. Then it surfaces that this politician could be Johnny Gosch, and that is just another whole episode and a whole other story. That just really gets you down the rabbit hole of this saga. I'm going to leave that up to you guys if you guys want to see another video on if this guy, John Gannon, who is a politician, he has basically no record of him before like the age of like 18 or something. Like they have no idea who this guy is. It's just such a creepy, bizarre story. People claim that this is Johnny Gosch, and I don't even know what to think. This just like really brain fucks me, to be honest. But if you guys want to see a part 2 of this story, let me know. The guy, Paul Bonacci, is actually out of prison to this day. If you look more into him, he goes more into detail of what happened with Johnny Gosch and what he remembers and his claims and this and that. He is actually married with a child now. But there is way more information on him that just makes this story even crazier. So if you guys want to see a part 2 of this whole crazy, and I can add in more about the Paul Bonacci side of this case and more about the guy who people claim is actually the real Johnny Gosch. So let me know what you think of this, and I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.